First one in the morning. Man, doesn't get much better than catching them on a crankbait. When it's fast and furious and you're catching them deep cranking, oh man, it just makes you grin. Something about throwing back in somewhere knowing one's probably gonna pull back. So this morning, we are out here in the Ozarks, out on Table Rock Lake, and you know, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people are kind of forgetting about. Everything's forward-facing sonar this, forward-facing sonar that, but not all fish you can see on forward-facing sonar. A lot of them will lay really close to the bottom, and especially in a current type situation, and they're very hard to see. And whenever they get like that, sucked to the bottom real tight, there's not many better ways to catch them than on a big crankbait. You know, right now I'm throwing a DT20 from Rapala, and you know, honestly, in my opinion, if I've got a DT20 and a DT16, I'm set up pretty well. I do mix a 10 and an 8 in when I'm fishing for some different schools, depending on what depth they're in. But the 16 and the 20 are by far my favorites. A lot of times when you're cranking too, you know, a lot of people don't think about it, but speed can be your friend. I mean, especially in kind of cleaner water situations like we've got here, sometimes you can absolutely reel that crankbait so fast you think there's no way a fish could ever get it. I still want that crankbait grind in the bottom. See, it makes it more erratic. The more your crankbait's bouncing off the bottom and you know, you're kind of starting it, stopping it, just making it look like a hurt bait fish. So a lot of times I'll burn it real fast and stop it, just trying to get one to kind of run into it that's chasing it. You know, you want to really maximize the time in the strike zone, and to do that, you've got to make a long cast. You got to have the perfect, you know, rod reel line set up where you can throw your crankbait far enough that you're going to just achieve the maximum depth of that crankbait. You want something that's going to have a little bit of backbone, but it's also got the really nice soft tip, so it allows that fish to get the bait well. I'm throwing this one on, it's like a 710 medium heavy, but it's a big crankbait rod. It's designed exactly for throwing these kind of baits. This is a Bass Pro Shops Carbon Light. It's their new technique specific rods, and this is a 710 deep crank rod. You know, when it comes to line, I keep it pretty simple. A lot of times I'll throw 12 pound, but I'll kind of adjust that depending on how deep I want the bait to run. I'll go anywhere from 8 to, you know, 15, 16 pound line. Let's try this a little guy. Little largemouth on a DT20. As you saw today, we threw the DT16 and the DT20. And you know, you look at the bill and honestly, it's not as big as a lot of other deep diving crankbaits. You know, a lot of them are super wide all the way back. This one is actually pretty narrow. It gives the bait a narrow wobble. And honestly, I think this crankbait's a little more subtle than a lot of crankbaits. And I think there's a lot of situations that helps you get a lot more bites, kind of sneak up on them. The way this bill's so long, it seems to just dive really fast. That's a big deal when you're throwing a crankbait. The longer that thing is in the strike zone, the more of a chance you've got to catching one. I've got a few colors laid out here that are my favorites, kind of my go-tos. And seems like a lot of the lakes I fish, if I've got citrus and I've got green gizzard, you know, I'm in good shape. If I've got dirtier water, you know, sometimes, you know, I'll go to the powder blue back and chartreuse, or even a little bit brighter color. But a lot of times I like to just keep it simple and just kind of work up and down that spectrum. I like to start with something a little bit brighter though. It just seems like you catch more fish on it in my mind. As you can see, you know, this school that we just went over, I mean, that is just a load of bass. And they're, you know, sitting right on the edge of this channel swing, just sitting there waiting on something to come their way. And those are a pretty good wad to try to throw at. Whenever you see something like that, that's when you're gonna want to stop, turn around, bomb that DT through them. A lot of these fish are schooling up out here on places where, you know, they can just set and the shad are gonna come to them. So that's kind of the deal. They're just hanging out down there waiting on bait fish, crawdads, anything to swim by. And when there's a big school of them down there like that, they don't let much get by them. Big. Oh no, I lost him. Oh, got another one. Gosh, I lost him too. I just broke one off. What just happened? That was a whole lot of them. The first one I had was a big one. There he is. Man, you just can't beat catching them on a big crankbait, I'm telling you. I love throwing into the school of them more than anything. One hook. Oh, we got him though. Man, there's a load of them down there. And when they're wadded up like that, you burn that crankbait through them. Hang on tight, that's all I got to say. So when you're trying to target fish to catch on a crankbait, you know, the hardest part about the whole deal is trying to find a spot that they live. There's a few things to look for when you're trying to find a place like that. And in the summertime like this, it's hot. Fish want to be close to deep water, and they want to be in a position where they can hide and they can feed. That's all they're thinking about, is trying to eat. So a lot of times I like to start, you know, around points. I like to start around points that have a really nice ledge next to them that drop off maybe even into the main lake channel, especially a point just like this one. You can see the river channel runs right along next to it. It's got really good deep water next to it, but up on top of it, it's pretty shallow. So, you know, you can work your way out. A lot of times they're not up here real shallow, but you kind of work your way out, find that, you know, 12 to 25 feet range. And that's kind of where a lot of times I find those schools. The nice thing about finding a school like that, a lot of times they're right there when you come back to them. So it's always nice whenever you've got a spot you think you can go somewhere and catch a few keepers. It's not what we were after. Yeah, so we pulled up here, we turned around, you know, caught those couple, and then I lost one. And as soon as I lost one, it's like it just shut them down. They just, I can see them sitting there on live scope, just laying up there. But I mean, they're just all sold up and don't want to bite. So a lot of the time, you know, once they kind of know you're there with the crankbait, they know you're there. So that's whenever I kind of start to go through my rotation, and I might pick up a big worm or something like that and drag through them and just kind of try to fire them up again. So when you find a school of fish like this, you know, obviously, first things first, I'm gonna hop up there, I'm gonna throw a crankbait through them and try to fire the school and get as many as I can get with the crankbait, because I feel like that's my best chance of catching a big one. But you know, after I've done that, they kind of figure out you're there, they start to smarten up a little bit. You got to have some follow-up baits. You got to do something different just to try to generate a couple more bites out of each school. And a lot of times, one of the first things I throw is just a big shaky head. Man, that's so fun. Hard to beat cleaning them up. Another pretty one, you know. It's a perfect example of, you know, after you fire them up on a crankbait and they shut down after they kind of know you're there, you know, you kind of got to go through your rotation. They've kind of, once they smarten up a little bit, that's when you pick up your worm, your jig, your drop shot. It's your normal old school bass fishing, just throwing a worm out there and dragging it through them. But I've got it on a little bit meatier setup, you know. I've got this on a 7.4 heavy carbon line and throwing it on 20-pound line, so not your normal little ferry one situation. Man, like I said, you get a few of them cranking for sure, but whenever they quit you, don't be afraid to pick up a worm or something and drag through them just to pick up a few extra ones. As you can tell, I'm kind of doing a little damage control here. I don't know if it's everybody, but man, when I get around the school of fish, my stuff gets thrown everywhere. I just drop rods, pick up rods. and just make a mess. But so far it's been a really good morning. We've only made 2 or 3 stops, caught 7 or 8 fish, and a few nice ones. So good news is they're biting the crankbait, so no reason not to smile. What just happened?